Dude, we're hitting 30, almost 31 miles an hour. Like, what? Thought this bike was 28 miles an hour. I'm not complaining though. All right, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. But if you are new, my name's Jonathan, MrCentralDriver, and I review electric bikes and electric skateboards, which some of them are down here, and just have a blast. I basically tell you how it is and if I like it or not, pros and cons. So let's get into this one really quick. This is the Ride1Up limited version. It has a 750 watt rear motor in the back. I definitely have to show you this motor in a little bit because it's pretty beautiful. This is a 48 volt system. It's a 14 amp hour battery. You got hydraulic brakes on the front of this bike. You got adjustable suspension. You got big fat 27.5 inch tires. And you do have a torque sensor in this bike. So if you guys like to pedal, this would probably be a perfect bike for a lot of you guys. It doesn't come with a cadence sensor that kind of just kicks in randomly after you like half pedal and it kind of jolts you up. Torque sensor, basically, the harder you pedal, the faster the bike wants to go. It senses how hard you're pedaling. So that's one of the cool features of this bike. You also get a 8-speed shifter on this bike also. Compared to some other bikes, they give you a Shimano 6 or 7-speed. This one has an extra gear on here, so it's very nice. And you also have a nice color display right here. But I'll bring you in with the camera and we'll kind of go over this bike a little bit. But I gotta start off with one major con of this bike when it arrived at my house. And that's gonna be the packaging that arrived on here. I should have done an unboxing for you guys to kind of show what I'm talking about, but the box was so small. Like the box was literally as tall as probably the tires right here. And you might be thinking, how did it even fit right there? Well, these tires don't even come inflated. So you have to actually have an air compressor or maybe a portable one, you know, in your backpack or something like that. They're nice to have. You can get them on Amazon. But you have to air up the tires. That was kind of a big con to me because now when I aired up my tire, I have a lump on it. I took it down the street real quick, just make sure everything works before we do the video review for you guys. And I can feel the bike kind of going up and down. So we're gonna have to deflate this and try to reseat the tire again. So that sucks that is like that. I've never had a bike that I had to inflate the tires. Another thing is they give you a special tool, and that special tool goes to the cranks. Because you have to put these cranks together with the chain, the derailleur and all that stuff. The derailleur's attached to the chain, but you do have to get the chain put over the crank and get that all cinched down. But the special tool, you need a socket or an open wrench. So you gotta make sure that you have some type of tool in your garage to do that work. Most people might not have it, so you might have to be taken to a bicycle shop to have that done if you don't have any tools in your garage. So just keep that in mind. So another thing is the suspension. It is not connected to the bike whatsoever. So you literally have to take the suspension, which is wrapped around right here, which also scratched my bike, by the way. You got to take this, slide it into the frame. Then you got to get the spacers correct up here and the stuff down here correct, and then put the bolt down here and tighten it down and make sure you did it correctly. I had to go through the manuals. The first time I ever had to go through one of the manuals to make sure I put it together correctly. Real quick, guys, I got to step in here and let you guys know some things about the bike that the company wanted me to let you guys know because I sent them the video review, but then there was also some things they wanted me to address. So the reason why the package is so small when it comes to your house, they obviously save on shipping costs to everybody that they ship to, right? Well, that makes this bike very competitive to be able to sell for $1,600. They say bikes in this price range are normally about $1,900 to $2,000 with a torque sensor, and that's the reason why they can sell it so cheap. They also say that it's cheaper to even have it installed by a professional at your local bicycle shop, and you can still be under the price range of the other bikes that they're competing against. Another thing is too, if your bike does come damaged in the back or any part of the bike whatsoever, contact them and they'll send you some touch-up paint. But if you're obviously not happy with that solution, they do say that they would issue a partial refund depending on the type of damage that's on your bike. Everything's gonna be different for everybody. But those are two things that the company wanted me to let you guys know. And let's get back into the video. All right, so let's start at the top on what you're gonna be looking at when you sit on the bike. So right off the bat, you have some locking rubber grips right here. They do have a little thing for your palm to rest on. You can adjust these however you want and they're not gonna slide off whatsoever. And then you have your thumb throttle. It is on the left side, and don't be mistaken on why it's on the left side. It's because you have your huge shifter right on the right side. You have a nice colorful display right here, which you can turn on using the middle button. Takes a little bit, it's like 2 or 3 seconds to hold it down, pops up, very nice. Shows your voltage, your battery, your power, miles per hour, miles traveled in total, and then all that other stuff for your trip. Moving on over to this side, this is where you're gonna have your 8-speed shifter at. And it's very nice because you're gonna have the shifter on this side and then you're gonna have the other one on this side. So you use this finger for the front, you use your thumb for the back, makes it very comfortable and easy to use. Now this is your cable management up front. Not too bad whatsoever. The only cable that really stands out to me is this one, but honestly, can't complain about it. And then you're gonna have your keys right here, which we're gonna have to take this off when we get to the battery so we can show you that. And you have nice hydraulic brakes on both sides by Tektro. I will say that these brake levers are very, very short compared to other brakes I've had in the past that kind of come out to here. So just keep that in mind. If you got some big fingers, you might have a problem with that. But for me, my hands are pretty small and they fit pretty well for me. Now, moving on to the suspension right here, you're gonna notice that we have a little air logo right here. So this is not like a preload adjustment. You literally fill this with air. So you would take this completely off and then you have a bicycle pump valve right here, shredder valve. And you can air this up with air depending on your riding style, and then put this back and fully tighten it down. Make sure that it does not come off. You don't want to lose that. Moving on over to this side, you do have a lockout if you want to completely lock out the suspension or not, or halfway, or just fully leave it open. I normally leave it open because I like the most comfortable ride possible. Right down here, we're gonna have our 180 millimeter disc brakes, and they are Tektro also. And then you also have a quick disconnect right here, which makes it very nice. If you get a flat in the front, you could take this off in no time. Nice little logo right here down on the frame. Oh man, of course my gardeners are out there doing some stuff right now. Every single video, what the heck. All right, we got the garage closed, so hopefully we don't hear them. But moving on. I do notice on some bikes, I like to see if the cranks are gonna hit the kickstand, because some bikes are set up where they do hit the kickstand. And I was very skeptical of this one until I started turning it, and it is very close, but it definitely does not come in contact. And the reason why that's a pro is because as you move the bike back, you see how the pedals move with it? If you ever had to put your bike in a space and you gotta push it backwards, it will literally hit this and it will stop. And then you will have to put the kickstand up and then move it back and then put the kickstand down. And sometimes you're in a tight little area and you can't do that. So the fact that it doesn't hit the kickstand, I know it's a very simple thing. You guys probably don't care about it, but to me, I think that's a huge deal for my situation. Moving on to this side in the back, you have a Shimano cassette. It's an 8-speed along with the Shimano Altus derailleur. You also have a nice little wrap right here just in case your chain comes in contact with your frame, so it won't give you any scratches, which is pretty nice because when you do go off-roading or hit anything, the chain is definitely gonna move. So that's, like I said, a nice touch. You have a 44 tooth sprocket up front. We're gonna see how that is when we pedal and all that kind of stuff, because to get to 28 miles on this bike, you do have to pedal. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but let's show you this motor really quick. I don't know what you guys think, but I think this motor is gorgeous looking. Normally when you get a rear hub motor, it's just completely black and it's kind of wide. This one's actually shorter in width, but it's taller. And I just like the fact that it has a little bit of chrome in the inside of it. It just kind of stands out to me. So it looks very, very nice. Moving on up here, you're gonna see that I do have some nicks from the packaging. The forks were sitting right in this area. You're gonna see some like right here, and then you're also gonna see some right here. Now mine's not as bad as some reviewers or anything like that, but still disappointing a little bit. Now moving on to this seat, it's a freeway seat, and you do have some adjustability right here, so you can slide it forward or slide it back to have a little bit of an angle. And then you have a quick release right here, which is very nice. I love these, so you can lift and lower it depending on who's riding the bike. Now let's move on to the battery. I need to take these keys off, so let me unattach these and then we'll take the battery out and check it out. All right, so they do give you 2 keys, which is standard. And let's see, so you turn it to the right to unlock it. Hopefully you guys can see that. My hands aren't too in the way. And then basically it just comes out completely like that. And wow, it's actually kind of nice the fact that the battery inside is painted the same as the bike on the outside. So that's pretty cool. That's a nice little touch right here. So yeah, so it's a 672 watt hour battery, 48 volt times 14 amp hour. That's what's gonna give you that 672 watt hour. But very nice battery overall, not very heavy. I will say that they are using 18650 cells. They're not using 21700s. They don't mention it on their website, but I did my research and looked up the battery. And these batteries roughly, it's not the same battery that's gonna fit in here, but you can get similar batteries with the same specs in a different size, I think for like 400 bucks. but you would have to probably order one directly from them that fits this bike and color matched. And then to put the battery in, basically I didn't have to do anything. I just had to do that and it looks like it snaps right in. Make sure that you have it all the way to the left side, which it already is, so it's in the locking position, and it shouldn't come out after that. All right, coming up here, you do have a battery indicator that will tell you the charge of the battery. So I'm assuming blue means 100% because I just fully charged this battery. And this is where you're also gonna charge it on the side after you remove this little rubber plug. So it's gonna be right there, and you could do it on or off the bike, it doesn't matter. I normally do mine on the bike. It just makes it a lot easier instead of removing it and having to drop it or mess it up. And this is the charger that comes with this bike. It's a D-Power brand, and it is a 2 amp charger. I didn't read none of their specs on the website on how long it would take to charge it, but I'm going to assume it's probably gonna take about 4 hours for that battery charger to charge this battery if it was completely dead. But anyways, I think we went over the bike well enough, and there's tons of flies flying around this garage. So hopefully you guys couldn't hear them in the video as me making this, but now I wanna get on the bike. Let's go ride it and do the actual test. We'll see what our top speed is, how comfortable it is. Let's go up a little hill, we'll take it off-roading and come back here and give you the results. All right, let's see what our top speed is gonna be on this bike. Keep in mind, I think I mentioned it already, but this is a 28 mile per hour bike, but you have to use throttle and pedal to get up to the 28 miles per hour. So right now the display is showing 27.3, if you guys can see that at all. And we're actually pulling more than 750 watts out of this motor, so it probably does have a peak of about 1,000. And it feels real nice. The chain ring feels very comfortable. I actually feel like I'm pedaling. Doesn't feel too hard, doesn't feel too light. I kind of feel like it's just right. And we're hitting 28.7, there we go. So almost 29 miles per hour. Not too bad, but as soon as I stop pedaling, you can hear the motor completely cut off, and then we're losing speed as we go. I think that's my neighbor. So just keep in mind, you're only gonna be able to hit 20 miles per hour if you don't wanna pedal at all, which is okay, it's not too bad. One thing that I do wanna mention though is once you do hit 20 miles an hour, it actually goes to 22 or 23 before it cuts out. So watch, we're on the throttle right now. So 20 miles an hour, 21 miles an hour, 22, 23, and then the motor cuts back, and now we're back down to 20 miles per hour. That's something I noticed that was interesting to me. Oh God. Okay, one thing you gotta be careful about is that these pedals will hit the ground when you're turning. So I was pedaling and turning, and I scraped the ground. So that could have been a hazard right there where I could have went down. So 100%, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, do not pedal when you're going in a turn, ever on this bike. These pedals come very close to the ground. That was a little scary. 29 miles per hour, baby. And this bike is very comfortable. Very light and nimble. Like, it is just insanely easy to turn on this thing. It feels too easy where I feel like I'm gonna go down because I get turned so sharp. That's how good this bike turns. Now these tires are, I believe, 2.7 inches wide, but they don't feel that wide at all. All right, so let's do a speed test, 0 to 28, and see if we can make it before we get to the end of this little road right here. And if not, we'll do the test all over again. But 1, 2, 3, go. $20, $22, $24, $25, $26. Oh, we ran out of road. Let's do it again right here. All right, we're at 53.3 volts. Let's hit it. 1, 2, 3, go. Has a little slow of a takeoff, but it's not too bad. It gets going after it hits about 10 miles an hour, 12 miles an hour. So it's 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Woo, yeah, just keep in mind, I was pedaling as hard as I could to get that torque sensor working, because the faster and harder you pedal, the better it should pick up speed. Another reason for the decent acceleration is it has a 22 amp controller in here, where some bikes come with like a 15 amp controller. So the higher your amps are, the more torque it's gonna give the bike. And the fact that this bike is so light, it feels very quick. So I believe this bike is like 53 pounds and it holds up to someone that's like 300 pounds. So that's pretty damn good if you ask me. Now, a lot of people might say in the comments like, oh, that's pretty heavy for a bike, but this is an electric bike. So I feel like that's pretty good. Normally, most of the bikes that I ride are like 65 to 80 pounds. So this feels very nice to me. Like, I mean, so easy to pick up. I like it. All right, so let's do some testing coming up this hill. We'll do a couple different ones. So I'm on gear number 1. I am on pedal assist number 5. I actually haven't taken this screen protector off yet. Should we do that? There we go. I apologize about that. Hopefully you guys can see the screen a little bit better. I'll put this in my pocket for now. So my bad. All right, so let's start on 1 and let's go up this hill and see how it does. I'm gonna use a throttle and pedal. Oh yeah, not bad at all. Now it says we were doing 6 miles an hour coming up that. I don't think that's accurate. That felt more like 4. I mean, I could be totally wrong. I'm just kind of going off a feel right here with all the other electric bikes I've ridden, but not bad at all. So let's try it in mode number 1 and do the exact same thing. Start right at the bottom and go. Oh yeah, that's nice. Now let's try that without pedaling at all and just use throttle. Throttle only, here we go. Uh-oh. Oh man, okay, so throttle only is not gonna do it. You're definitely gonna have to pedal. Interesting, all right. Doesn't feel bad to pedal whatsoever, but something you gotta note. So if you got a lot of hills and you're not trying to pedal up the hill and you wanna use throttle only, that might not work for you. So we'll do this test one more time and I'll pedal this time. And it gets right up it when I do that. All right, so now that we're on the dirt, let's go off-roading a little bit. Normally we would go that way, but let's go this way in today's video and just see how it is. I will say before this ride, I barely took any air out of the front suspension because when I did sit on it, it was very hard to push down. It wouldn't really move. So I barely popped it with my nail. Didn't take much out at all. It's handling very well. We're jamming through this thing. Oh yeah, I have no complaints. It's not the most comfortable bike I've been off-roading with, but it's definitely doable. The tires, woo! The tires seem like they could wash out a little bit faster than the fat tires, but still not too bad. If I had to give it a rating, 1 out of 10, it's probably like a 6 or a 6.5. It doesn't feel the most comfortable, and I do feel like if you had some bad like sand or anything like that, I do feel like these tires would wash out, because back there I did feel the bike kind of slide to the side a little bit compared to the bikes I've been on. And the seat not having any suspension definitely lets you feel some of the bumps in the road and when you're off-road. All right, normally do the brake test right here, and we are gonna do the brakes, but first let's go into this shifter. So right now I'm pedaling and we're doing about 8 miles per hour and I'm in gear number 1. And if I go up, actually I gotta use my front finger. Okay, there we go. There we go. Starting to feel a lot better now. Now the higher we go up, the faster this bike is gonna go. So we're on 5 now. Ooh, once you hit 5, it really starts taking off. 6, 7, and now we're on 8. 8 is gonna give us our fastest speed. The gear shift, perfectly fine. No complaints with that. Not something I would use a lot, but definitely works. This bike definitely gives you a workout if you're not using the throttle whatsoever, because it goes off of your input. So if I get on this bike and really start pedaling, my mile per hour is going up and up, but I'm putting a lot of force. I'm gonna get tired fast. I'm out of shape. Not too bad though. So now we gotta do the braking test and see how that is. I'm going pretty fast. I'm doing 28 miles an hour. We're gonna stop right at this thing right here. 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, okay, not too bad. We definitely slid. It stopped really good. I actually had to let off the brakes just ever so slightly because the bike started sliding so much it was kind of fishtailing a little bit, but not too bad. Stopping at that, you can see the line we made in the road. Not too bad. Similar to the electric bike company that I just reviewed, but these brakes don't feel as good as that, but they're definitely hydraulic. They definitely feel good. Not gonna complain at all because hydraulic brakes are the way to go. Cable brakes are just, they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe at all. Let me try to do another test for you guys. I'll try to do it at like 25 miles an hour or something. So somewhere around here. I'm trying to think of what to go off of. Let's go off of this little shiny thing in the road right here. You guys see that? 1, 2, 3, let's go. Go. Woo! The G's, baby, the G's. All right, so we went off of that. So not very far. There's no one on the street, so I can kind of do my own thing out here. But so I went off this little, I don't know, looks like an AT&T bill to someone's house. Not too bad at all. So if you need to stop on this bike, you're not gonna have any single problem stopping at all. All right, we're gonna stop destroying our tires. Woo, not bad. So I have went so far on this bike, and since I charged it anyway, I went exactly 5 miles. The trip that we're on right now is 4.2, and that's because I rode it up and down my block before we did this review, just to make sure everything works before I had to contact the company, tell them, hey, this is messed up, but everything was good. 5 miles, 51.8 volts. Okay, so we're looking at about, I think that said 82%. Yeah, roughly like 82 to 83% battery. And we went 5 miles. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Now they claim a range of about 30 to 50, but it also just depends on what you're doing with the bike and how you're riding it. And another thing too is I went into the settings right away, which I believe you can do while you're riding. And you can come in here and go into advanced settings, and I changed my modes. So this bike normally comes 0 to 3 for power set. I wanted the 0 to 5 because that's what I'm used to. You could change your current limit. Right now it's set at 18. I thought I changed it to 22, but we could change it to 22, and then your assist number 24, not sure what that is. Speed sensor, slow start, you could change that, and then you can put a password, and then you could change the LCD light on here and all that stuff. Display settings, you can do your trip and what you want. The speed limit is the main thing that I wanted to change, so I went to 31 miles an hour. So that's gonna give us our fastest top speed that we can get on this bike. So if you get that, just go through those settings and change them. There's no special like password or nothing like that you gotta change. That's pretty much it. Dude, we're hitting 30, almost 31 miles an hour. Like, what? Thought this bike was 28 miles an hour. I'm not complaining though. All right, something that's probably gonna sound stupid, but I wanna lock out the suspension and see how it is. There's gonna be no suspension at all on this bike after that. There's no seat suspension, no rear suspension. So it's probably gonna be a bad idea, but let's just see how well that suspension was working. I did this on one of my other review videos and definitely gave me an idea of how well it's working. You know, it's actually not that bad with locking out the suspension. Like, yeah, it's rougher if it wasn't locked out, but still, it's not that bad. I can't complain about that. I am gonna change it though. But yeah, no, not bad at all. Some things I'm noticing is that the throttle probably has a 1 second delay. So I'm gonna hit it 1, 2, 3. Now it's working. So yeah, that's about what? 1 second, maybe 1.5. And then the pedals, 1, 2, 3. About a 1 second delay also, maybe 1.5 seconds. So just keep that in mind that there is a slight delay when getting into the power, whichever mode you want to use. And I really thought I was going to hate these handlebars, but I actually like them. They're comfortable. I don't have any complaints about them. I did at first until I actually got on the bike. So things are starting to look up. Now let's move on to the seat and talk about it just a little bit, not too much. I'm a pretty small guy, so I don't really need a huge seat. It's nice to have a huge seat. And I will say this seat's just a little bit too small. I think this same seat was on the Core 5 that I reviewed from them. I could be mistaken, but I think it was. And it's just ever so slightly too small. Now, it was comfortable up until this point, and I've done about 5 to 6 miles on the bike, and I feel like it's starting to get to me now. I've probably been sitting on this bike for, I don't know, maybe half an hour riding around. It's really starting to hurt now where I just want to get off of it and take a little break. So you might want to replace it. Thanks, man. Even though this bike has a very slow start, I appreciate you letting me go. All right, so let's talk about the torque sensor on this bike. Now, personally, this is my own preference. I would rather have a cadence sensor. And the reason why is the fact that I like to just barely move the pedals and the bike just take off. It doesn't matter how much input I put into the bike. I just want it to move as fast as possible. If you're someone that does like to pedal and you want to feel like you're actually giving the bike an input based on how hard you pedal or how soft you pedal, then you're definitely going to want a torque sensor. So to each their own. It really just depends on what you're into. For nice hilly areas, climbs and stuff like that, I think it would be nice to have the torque sensor, but I don't really have anything in my area. It's mostly all flat ground, so I'm okay with the other one. But anyways, let's get back to the house and go over the pros and cons on what I think about this and see if it's the right bike for you. Woo! All right, that was a fun ride. So overall, what can I tell you about this bike? The main thing I noticed when I got on the road was the fact that it was so nimble and easy to turn, and it's very, very light for an electric bike. I know some of you guys might have different opinions, but I've rode a lot of heavy electric bikes, and this one's on the lighter side for me, and that makes it easier to turn and all that kind of stuff. The brakes, fantastic, no issues with the brakes. The grips, no problems with that, nothing fancy, but nothing like stupid or dumb. These work very well. The shifter worked flawlessly. The thumb throttle on the left side is a little weird for me. Some bikes don't really come on the left side, but you get used to it after a while. The display is very nice. I just don't like the fact that the bars have a little S shape to them, or like an M shape, I guess you could say. And it makes the display sit off to the corner a little bit. I guess you can try to move it around somewhat, but you don't want to run into the throttle, and you can't put it on the thicker part of the bars. The suspension in the front is great. No problems with that whatsoever. The fact that you can put air into them and kind of change them the way you want, that's nice. The huge tires are a nice plus. The rims, you sit pretty high off the road. I have my seat pretty far down just because I like the feel of kind of being like this instead of like that. The motor seems very powerful for what it is. I mean, it's pretty much a 1,000-watt peak motor. I saw, I think the max like 920 or 930 when I looked down on the display. But since this bike is so light, it moved it no problem whatsoever. You also have some mounting spots right here to put a water bottle if you want to. The only cons about it is assembly. That's a huge negative to me. I mean, there was so much stuff to assemble. It took me a while when we got on the ride to actually air this down, inflate it, get all the wrinkles out, so then it didn't have that lump in the tire anymore. I had to seat this tire so many times. It was kind of a pain, but it's good now. No problems with that. But just overall assembly really sucked. The fact that you need a socket and an other tool that they do not give you in the box to actually put the cranks on, that's going to be a huge negative. You have no tools whatsoever in your garage. You're going to be paying some extra to take it to a bicycle shop. And then if you noticed, I didn't mention it at all yet, but this bike has no fenders and it has no headlights or taillights. Now they do come with reflectors. You can put a reflector up front and a reflector in the back. It does come with that in the box. But you get no lights whatsoever. So at this price point, I feel like they needed to have some type of integrated lighting system. I'm not a huge fan of having to go on Amazon and buy a light, which you're gonna have to do if you ride at night. You're gonna need some type of light. You want people to see you. You don't wanna get hit or anything. So you're definitely gonna want some flashing light on the back, red light, and then a white light up here on the handlebars. But you're gonna probably be spending like 50 bucks or so on that. So just keep that in mind. But overall, it's a good bike. The price is pretty good. It's on sale right now for $1,600. You can also use my code with the link in the description and go check them out, go save some money. And it also helps support the channel. So I really appreciate you guys sticking around to the end of this video. I'm pretty sure it's a long one like all the other ones are. I don't know how we make these videos so long. I tell myself every time I'm gonna make it short and it just doesn't happen. But hopefully you guys understand I'm being very genuine with everybody out there on the pros and cons with this bike, and hopefully you guys appreciate it. See you guys in the next one. Peace out. Be safe out there, all right? Later.